Remember when a struggling actor had to put on a dress just to get a job? And somehow ended up exposing half of Hollywood in the process. In 1982, Columbia Pictures released Tootsie, a movie that turned a wig and a southern accent into one of the smartest comedies ever made. Dustin Hoffman starred as Michael Dorsey, a brilliant New York actor so impossible to work with that nobody on either coast would hire him. So he does the only logical thing. He disguises himself as a woman named Dorothy Michaels, auditions for a soap opera, and accidentally becomes a star. Sydney Pollack directed and co-starred as Michaels' exhausted agent George Fields. Jessica Lange played soap actress Julie Nichols. And that wasn't even half of the star power in this film. Teri Garr showed up as the long-suffering Sandy Lester. Bill Murray gave us Michael's roommate Jeff Slater. Dabney Coleman played the swarmy soap director Ron Carlisle, and a tall newcomer named Geena Davis walked in as a soap actress April Page. Today we're counting down 15 weird and totally true facts about Tootsie. And stick around for number 1, because Hoffman never saw Tootsie as a comedy, and what he saw in the mirror is the reason why. Before we get started, hit like and subscribe. It helps YouTube show this to more nostalgic film fans just like you. Okay, let's head backstage to everyone's favorite daytime stories. Number 15, the soap opera villain hiding in plain sight. Southwest General, the soap opera inside Tootsie, feels weirdly specific, like too specific. That's because it wasn't just inspired by real soaps, it was basically a direct parody of General Hospital, and not a gentle one. Full inside joke mode. The biggest giveaway was George Gaines. In Tootsie, he plays John Van Horn, the aging, slightly unhinged romantic lead who looks like he's one drink away from forgetting his lines mid-scene. But Gaines had already been on General Hospital as Frank Smith, a full-blown mob boss who originated the role in 1980, smack in the middle of the legendary Luke and Laura era. He's literally the guy who sent Luke and Laura on the run. The movie literally cast a real soap villain to parody the exact kind of show he came from. That's not casting, that's a wink. Hoffman went all in too, actually visiting the General Hospital set to study how those shows work. He even watched La Cage aux Folles on repeat for good measure. Then it got stranger. Around the same era, General Hospital ran a storyline about a character named Sally Armitage, played by female impersonator Christopher Morley, eventually revealed to be a man named Max Hedges, working for Frank Smith's hit squad, the same character Gaines played. Officially, Tootsie's premise traces back to a Don McGuire play from the early 1970s, but the timing raises an eyebrow. The best part is that even General Hospital eventually leaned in, referencing Southwest General as a fictional soap their characters watched. A real soap inspiring a fake soap that real soap then acknowledges. Basically a TV multiverse. Number 14. Bill Murray snuck into one of the biggest movies of the decade. Imagine walking into Tootsie in 1982. You're expecting Dustin Hoffman, maybe a smart comedy. Then, out of nowhere, Bill Murray shows up. At the time, Murray was blowing up. Meatballs, Caddyshack, Stripes. 3 back-to-back hits, and he was becoming the face of chaotic anything-goes comedy. If you slapped his name on the poster, audiences would walk in expecting pure madness and big laughs. Tootsie wasn't that movie. It was quieter and more grounded. So Murray had an idea. What if we just don't tell anyone I'm in it? He called it a fun practical joke on the audience, let people discover him in real time. Columbia Pictures actually went along with it. No billing, no publicity, not even opening credits. The exact opposite of how Hollywood works. It worked. When Murray shows up as Jeff Slater, it feels different, like he wandered in from another movie and decided to hang out. The most Bill Murray move of all time. Number 13. A hidden cameo factory with a side of family casting. Behind the wigs and soap opera chaos, the movie is packed with blink and you'll miss it cameos. Starting with the most random one, Andy Warhol, the pop art legend casually shows up as himself during Dorothy's fame montage. The magazine cover sequence where she becomes an overnight soap star. Film critic Gene Shalit pops up too, technically. His full interview scene with Dorothy got cut, but you can still spot him on one of the magazine covers. Even when the cameo got deleted, they left the evidence behind. Then there's Sydney Pollack's brother, Bernie, costume supervisor on the film who somehow ended up acting in it too. On Tootsie, if you were already on set, you might just get a role. The real wait, what story? Geena Davis. First ever movie. Nobody told her actors only show up on the days they're working. She showed up every day for 6 weeks.
What was your first movie role, like real movie role?
Tootsie.
Just sitting next to Sydney Pollack watching everything like she was auditing a masterclass. Tootsie looks polished. Behind the scenes, it's part Hollywood production, part family suggestion box. Number 12. The movie almost got an R rating over one word. It's kind of wild to think about it now, but Tootsie almost got slapped with an R rating. The reason was 2 words. Same word, actually. In one rehearsal scene, Michael is helping Sandy tap into some real anger for an audition. He looks her dead in the eyes and says, "F you," twice, back to back. Sandy, completely unfazed, goes, "Thanks," which is either great acting technique or the fastest way to lose friends in real life. Today, that scene barely registers. In 1982, the MPAA saw it and went, "Yep, that's an R." There was no PG-13 yet. That rating wouldn't exist until 1984. So the board had 2 options, family-friendly or smuggling contraband into theaters. No middle ground. It wasn't only the language, the board also flagged an implied sex scene, some gender-bending confusion, and a little male-to-male kissing. Suddenly, Tootsie was being treated like it was one step away from corrupting the youth of America. Pollack and Columbia weren't having it. They appealed immediately, arguing the language wasn't shock value, it was acting class provocation designed to help Sandy hit her emotional note. Somehow it worked. The MPAA dropped the rating to PG, a rare win, because once that word showed up, an R was usually locked in like a bad haircut. Number 11. Tootsie almost came with a tennis scoreboard. Before Tootsie became Tootsie, it was a movie about a cross-dressing tennis player. Yeah, let that sink in. In the late 70s, Hoffman was developing a script with playwright Murray Skiskell called Shirley, about a male tennis player who disguises as a woman to win matches. The premise loosely echoed the real-life headlines around Renee Richards, the transgender tennis player who successfully sued for the right to play in the 1977 US Open women's draw. The core idea was there: gender, perception, identity. But the tone was way more, haha, look at that disguise, and a lot less, this is going to emotionally wreck you later. Eventually, the tennis concept got dropped. Around the same time, another script was floating around Hollywood, Don McGuire's play, Would I Lie to You?, about a struggling actor who cross-dresses to get a job. Hoffman read it and basically went, "Okay, now we're talking." He brought Skiskell over, mashed the ideas together, and the movie clicked. Out went the rackets, in came Michael Dorsey. Even with the profession change, the seriousness stayed baked in. Hoffman didn't want Dorothy to be a punchline. He wanted her believable, respectable. The ending evolved too. Early versions leaned hard into screwball chaos. Big reveal, everyone running around screaming. The final version is way quieter. Just Michael and Julie walking down the street. Freeze frame, no neat resolution. That was intentional. The freeze frame leaves Michael redeemed but not triumphant. Julie gets the last beat, not him. Because maybe the only way Michael could become a better person was by pretending to be someone else first. Number 10. Becoming Dorothy was a daily battle with biology. If you think getting ready for work is rough, try becoming an entirely different person every single morning. Dustin Hoffman didn't just want to play Dorothy Michaels. He wanted audiences to believe she could walk into a room and nobody would question it. The transformation process was an absolute nightmare. We're talking roughly 2 hours a day just to get camera ready. This included shaving his legs, shaving his arms, and even shaving the backs of his fingers. Turns out nothing ruins the illusion faster than stubbly man hands. Then came the face work. Makeup artists taped strips of latex to his skin and pulled them back into his hairline, basically a DIY facelift, while swapping out his teeth for smaller, daintier ones. Dorothy was a full engineering project. And even after all of that, his beard refused to cooperate. No matter how much foundation they layered on, Hoffman's 5 o'clock shadow would creep back after a few hours. Once Dorothy was ready, they had about 3 to 4 hours to shoot before the illusion literally started growing back. Pollack later revealed Hoffman was shaving upward in a sauna to get the closest shave possible. Nothing says serious acting commitment like sweating in a steam room while attacking your own face. Then there was the voice. Hoffman went on full science experiment. He actually went to Columbia University and used an oscilloscope to match his voice patterns to a woman's. His first attempt was a French accent. Pollack pushed back hard. Hoffman reportedly landed on a southern accent while in the shower, because it helped him hit a more natural feminine pitch. Somehow the crew and Hoffman made it look effortless. Number 9. Even the crew knew Dorothy was the nice one. Deep into production, the Tootsie set had a problem. It wasn't the wigs, it wasn't the heels, it was Dustin Hoffman. Full Michael Dorsey energy meant arguments, debates, and full-on creative standoffs. The 7-month shoot was falling behind schedule because of it. Then the crew noticed a pattern. In full Dorothy mode, Hoffman was genuinely nicer and more patient. Someone had a light bulb moment. Maybe we just wait for Dorothy. So they did. Bad news? Save it for Dorothy. Script changes? Tell Dorothy. Assistant director David McGifford clocked the difference. Dustin was combative. Dorothy was easy. One of the strangest workplace strategies in movie history. Managing your lead actor based on which gender he's currently dressed as. Pollack leaned in hard on the strategy. McGifford would wait outside the dressing room with the day's notes, and the second Dorothy stepped out, he'd pitch whatever script change Pollack would normally have to fight Hoffman over. Instead of an argument, he'd get something like, "Oh my, what a lovely idea. Why yes, let's try it." Full southern accent and everything. Hoffman admitted the shift was real. As Michael, he felt defensive, competitive. As Dorothy, more open, more empathetic. Softer. Wait for Dorothy. Always wait for Dorothy. Number 8. Hoffman and Pollack screamed their way to an Oscar. The Tootsie set was such a disaster it earned its own nickname around the industry, Troubled Tootsie, which sounds less like an Oscar-nominated film and more like a daycare incident report. Hoffman and Pollack disagreed on basically everything. Tone, pacing, line readings, lunch. Well, probably lunch too. Then Hoffman had an idea that only Hoffman would have. Instead of fixing the tension, weaponize it. He turned to Pollack and pitched it. Play my agent in the movie. Pollack hadn't acted in about 20 years and wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. So Hoffman pulled the pettiest, most brilliant move in his arsenal. He sent Pollack flowers. From Dorothy. In character. Emotional manipulation via drag persona. The man had range. Pollack eventually caved and took on the role of George Fields, the perpetually exhausted agent who spends most of the movie arguing with Michael. Here's the kicker. That bickering, that irritation, that I am 2 seconds away from losing my mind energy in every single scene, completely real. They weren't acting. They were continuing the argument on camera. Sometimes the best performances don't come from perfect harmony. Sometimes they come from two grown men who are this close to strangling each other and deciding to hit their marks instead. Alright, before we dive into the second half, hit that like button, because just like Michael Dorsey, we're putting in a lot of work behind the scenes, minus the wigs, the heels, and the existential crises. Be sure to like and subscribe and drop us your favorite Tootsie quote. Just remember, her name isn't Toots or Tootsie, it's Dorothy. Capital D. Respect the legend. Let's get back to some drag queen madness. Number 7. The movie had a secret weapon. Who didn't want credit? Some movies have dialogues that just hits. Tootsie had a little help. And by a little help we mean Elaine May, one of the smartest, funniest writers in Hollywood, quietly stepping in, fixing the script, and walking away like it never happened. While Hoffman and Pollack were busy arguing through production, Hoffman personally asked May to work on the script, partly as a Hail Mary to attract Pollack to direct in the first place. The movie leveled up overnight. She didn't just tweak lines, she reshaped characters. Murray's role as Jeff Slater was largely her doing. May built him from scratch to ground Michael and make him feel human, instead of walking ego in a wig. Then there's Sandy Lester. In earlier drafts, Teri Garr's character was heading toward generic ex-girlfriend with feelings. May gave her an actual perspective. Messy, emotional, real. She brought a woman's voice to a script written entirely by men. The craziest part is that when it came time for credits, May said, "Nah, I'm good. No name, no recognition." She just came to fix the movie, make it better, and disappear. Tootsie might not have worked without her. Number 6. The soap opera was designed to look beautifully awful. Those Tootsie soap opera scenes feel just a little off, don't they? The lighting's weird, the acting's dramatic enough to seem like a telenovela. Everything looks like it was filmed in someone's living room during a lunch break. That was all on purpose. The filmmaker studied real soaps like a science project, breaking down the pacing, the acting, the lighting, all of it. They wanted to nail the dramatic melodrama chaos exactly, but just slightly worse. Real soaps were shot fast, multiple cameras rolling at once, no time to reset lights. Everything looked flat, bright, almost lifeless. Tootsie recreated it perfectly. Same flat lighting, same overlit feel, pure, we need to shoot 30 pages before lunch kind of energy. The script leaned in hard to every soap trope imaginable. Sudden comas, over-the-top romance, doctors having emotional breakdowns between surgeries. If it could be dramatic, they cranked it up to 11. Even the look was different. Roizman cranked up the fluorescent lighting and stripped out anything that felt cinematic. The soap scenes have a phony synthetic glow that's nothing like the rest of the movie. That contrast is what sells it. Those scenes weren't lazy, they were a technical achievement in making something look cheaply made, which might be the most impressive flex in the whole movie. Number 5. Even the director thought the movie would bomb. By the final day of shooting, Sydney Pollack was completely fried. He turned to co-star Dabney Coleman and dropped this gem. Thank God nobody will see this piece of shh. That's the director, about his own movie, on the last day of production. You really can't make this up. Pollack had been skeptical from day one. When Columbia first offered him Tootsie, he passed. His take? One joke movie. Guy dresses as a woman, confusion happens, end of story. Hard pass. He only signed on after realizing the disguise wasn't the story. What Michael Dorsey learns while wearing it was. Even then, he spent months convinced the whole thing was sinking. By the time production wrapped, Pollack was so convinced the film was a disaster that he was openly venting about it to the cast. The piece of line wasn't a one-off bad mood, it was where his head had been for months. And the movie opened. That one-joke disaster he didn't want to make became a cultural phenomenon, and the director who predicted nobody would see it spent the next year watching everyone see it. Number 4. Tootsie cleaned up at awards season. For a movie its own director thought would flop, Tootsie did pretty alright at awards season. Try 10 Oscar nominations alright. The Academy came in heavy. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Hoffman, plus nods for Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Film, Editing, Sound, and Original Song for It Might Be You. And not one, but 2 Best Supporting Actress nominations, Jessica Lange and Teri Garr. They basically nominated everyone except the wig. And the wig deserved a nomination, let's be honest. Lange walked away with the win, and here's the wild part.
The winner is Jessica Lange.
She was double nominated that year, Best Supporting Actress for Tootsie and Best Actress for Frances. In the same ceremony, 2 performances, 2 nominations, 1 trophy. Not a bad night for a woman who is a literal Hollywood icon. The rest of Tootsie nominations ran into a buzzsaw named Gandhi, which steamrolled the night with 8 wins. Tough year to be a comedy in a room full of voters who just watched a 3-hour epic about world peace. The Golden Globes were kinder. Tootsie took home Best Picture in the musical or comedy category, and Hoffman won Best Actor. The critics piled on too. The National Society of Film Critics named Tootsie the year's Best Picture, with Hoffman winning Best Actor and Lange picking up more Best Supporting Actress trophies along the way. Not bad for a movie the director thought nobody would watch. Number 3. Hoffman took Dorothy out for a real-world test drive. Actors love to say they become the character. Dustin Hoffman took that a little further. He needed proof that Dorothy could pass in the real world, so he ran a little experiment. He showed up to his daughter Jenna's parent-teacher night, not as Dustin Hoffman, but as Aunt Dorothy. Full makeup, wig, voice. He mingled with teachers and parents like he wasn't one of the most recognizable actors on the planet. Nobody noticed. Not one teacher. Not one parent. Not even a, "You look strangely familiar." That moment was huge. His whole condition for doing Tootsie was simple. Dorothy couldn't feel like a joke. She had to feel like a real person. Mission accomplished. There's a time he got into an elevator with veteran actor Jose Ferrer, completely in character, and reportedly hit him with an indecent proposal. Ferrer had no idea he was being propositioned by a fellow actor and didn't catch a single clue. Then there's the Jon Voight story. Hoffman, still in costume after a restaurant scene, spotted his old Midnight Cowboy co-star eating nearby. He walked over and struck up a full conversation. Complimented Voight's career, told him how much she admired his acting. Voight didn't recognize him. The man he made an Oscar-nominated movie with, gone. Just a charming stranger across the table. That's when you know the performance is working. when Hollywood legends are sitting there thinking what a lovely woman and have no idea they're talking to the guy from The Graduate. Number 2. The comedy sparked a full-on culture war. Tootsie hit theaters looking like a smart, funny comedy and accidentally walked straight into a gender politics debate. On one side, you had critics, especially some feminist voices, who weren't exactly thrilled with the premise. Break it down and the movie kind of says a struggling actor can't get work as a man, so he becomes a woman, and suddenly becomes better at being a woman than the women around him. That didn't sit well with everyone. Critics pointed out that Sandy, Teri Garr's character, was written as insecure and overlooked. Meanwhile, Michael as Dorothy walks in and starts standing up to sexism in a matter of weeks, which raises an uncomfortable question. Does it really take a man to show women how to deal with this? Then there were the jokes. Some critics felt the humor leaned too heavily on the man and women's clothing angle. Bras, heels, awkward physical comedy. On the flip side, a lot of people defended the film. Beneath the comedy, Tootsie put sexism front and center. The groping soap director, the condescending agents, the constant low-grade harassment nobody on screen thought was unusual. Supporters called it a redemptive arc, a landmark moment for engaging with the feminist movement instead of dodging it. Either way, Tootsie became a cultural flashpoint, the kind of movie people didn't just laugh at, they argued about on the way home. Number 1. The role hit Hoffman a little too hard. After hours in the makeup chair, Hoffman looked in the mirror as Dorothy Michaels and asked the team a simple question. Could they make him a beautiful woman? The makeup team looked him dead in the eye and said, "That's as beautiful as we can get you, Charlie." Oof. That's when it hit him hard. Hoffman went home that night and broke down. He sat there talking to his wife, telling her he had to make this picture. She asked why. What came out of him next stuck with him for the rest of his life. He realized that if he met Dorothy at a party, he probably wouldn't have talked to her. Not because she wasn't interesting, because she didn't fit that narrow definition of beautiful that men are basically trained to chase. That realization stuck. He later said Tootsie was never a comedy to him. It was a wake-up call, a brutally honest look at how easy it is to walk past genuinely interesting people because they don't look the way you've been trained to want. The audience was laughing at Dorothy, figuring out heels and soap scripts. Meanwhile, Hoffman was over here having an existential crisis about human connection. And there you have it, 15 weird and wild facts about Tootsie. Which fact hit you the most and which one was the most surprising? Drop a comment and let us know. Be sure to subscribe and share this with a friend who still quotes Michael Dorsey or Dorothy Michaels. And while you're here, ring that bell. Dorothy would be proud. Until next time, this is Remember When.